if you decided that tomorrow was Father's Day, because every Saturday can be Father's Day according to, was it Things of Stone and Wood? Oh my goodness, that's jumped out of my
Ah,
brain now.
every other day is Father's Day.
Yeah, you might call it sad, you might call me mad. Go.
Every
Yeah.
day, I don't
This
know
is,
it
ladies
that
and
well.
gentlemen, Justin Michael with you on Father Figures. That's why Heath McSolvin does not do the harmonies. If tomorrow was going to be Father's Day, how good of a day would it be? This is a good question because there doesn't seem to be much of an absolute to Father's Day. Seems like we kind of all seem to know what we're supposed to do around Mother's Day. I've been a father for 19 years now, Heath for just a smidgen shorter than that. And every Father's Day that comes around, I think, first of all, for me, it's a church day. I'm a pastor, so we often do a spread for the men. Over the years, it's been suggested that, for the girls, we do the flower or a cake or a something, and there's a photo booth and there's a whatever, and there's 73 things. And then when it comes to Father's Day, it's like, give them salami. And that seems to be the best idea. I think I've seen people do, pie days and all sorts of stuff. But let's be honest, I'm still a little confused 19 years into my fathering as to what on earth Father's Day is supposed to be. So you'll be hearing from a friend of ours very, very soon in the episode, Pastor Phil Gaudion. Phil Gaudion, of course, is the world famous as the drummer of an indie band out of Melbourne called the Paul Coleman Trio, but an excellent drummer. And basically, today we've decided to only have drummers on the episode. Heath McSolvin, welcome.
I love it. I love it. I'm happy to be known as a drummer.
There you go. Let's identify as drummers. That's all we got to do.
Let's do it, man. I'm there. I'd rather that than an ex-comedian. Oh, let's go with
Ex-comedian
drummer.
does sound a little
Yeah,
harsh. I used
yeah,
to be funny.
yeah. Used to be, yeah. As
Do you,
opposed to I used to play the drums.
do you still got groove though?
I still got groove. My
Yeah.
kids have got groove.
Come on. Well, yeah. We can talk about the kids. We talk about the kids all the time. Hooray for our kids.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Encouraging the kids is off the table for this episode.
Yeah, it's
I
all
want to
about the
know.
dads, man.
I want to know how good you are. Um,
So Justin, you just made an interesting comment. You're a pastor of a church, so every Sunday, quite likely for the last 19 years,
yeah,
you've been working on Father's Day.
correct.
What is there one is there one Sunday you look back over the last 19 years that sticks out to you as a memorable Sunday at church on Father's Day?
Well, actually, the one that's coming to mind is post-pandemic, whatever that
Yep.
was. It might have been mid or just after.
All a
We
blur.
we were welcoming people back. I was working at Catalyst Baptist Church in Werribee, and there was only two of us on team, two pastors on team at the time, myself and Pastor Stan Ritchie. And I said, let's do something for the dads. And he said, great, that's great that you're going to do something for the dads. And so I decided to make a 48-hour salted caramel chocolate cookie for every single dad.
Oh, I thought you meant you just made one for yourself, but you meant you made it for everyone.
Just one giant cookie. And I don't know if you've ever done catering, but catering can be a shock to the system. Because you think, at home you make a dozen biscuits, whatever it is. And these were something, found on the internet, as you do, watched a reel, and somebody said, this is the best cookie ever.
Yeah,
And
sure.
real, masculine flavors,
Nice.
caramel and chocolate.
Caramel
Yeah.
masculine, really?
I
Is it?
don't know. I don't know.
I wouldn't go with that.
I don't know. I watched the Mars bar ads as a kid. I thought it was a really blokey chocolate. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Silky
Yep.
smooth caramel.
Yep. Yep. Tip
So
some
what-
solo into it. That was the thing.
Yeah. Silky smooth caramel followed by 17 teaspoons of sugar and a little bit of lemon. So the idea was that you made the cookie dough and then
Yep.
you left it for 2 days to
Yep.
cure, sort of thing. And then you roll it all out and bake it and whatever. So we had a combi oven at the church, so that was okay. I could cook 200 biscuits at once. It's okay. I knew about that. But that's I don't know if you've ever extrapolated what feeding 3 kids at home would be compared to feeding 400 humans,
Oh,
Nabisco.
it's not just like multiply by everything by 100, is it? It's like
No.
you don't add, if it says one sugar, you don't add 100 sugars.
The interesting thing for me was what I realized was I literally had no way to mix that amount of
Yeah.
stuff. So this is why it's memorable. Just if you want to know what the ADHD hyperfocus brain will do for you at times, this is what it can do. I prepared a song. I wrote a song for that Sunday. Oh, you might know that song. It's called "Did You Don't Worry." Yeah.
Oh, of course.
There you go.
I've heard that
That was
before,
for
yeah.
Father's Day. I prepared a service with musicians and all of the stuff and video content. I prepared interviews with dads from the congregation. And I went to Bunnings and bought those plastic tubs, the flexible plastic tubs with the two handles,
Yeah.
and made the cookie dough in those.
Oh, and those big tubs that people use for like those washing baskets almost.
Exactly.
Yep.
I was not asked to do this. I didn't need to do this. I just decided that that's what I should do. And so I'm there at midnight.
I'm just imagining you with this big washing basket sized tub.
Okay, so I don't know if there's any video content with this podcast, but my arms are not smooth. There's a bit of hair there. And I may have begun the process recognizing that by digging my hands that far into the flour, there might have been some hair in the soup after that. So from there, I changed my tactics. And anyway, I remember trying to mix this dough with all of my might. It's insane how heavy 20 something kilos of flour and milk and butter and whatever get. But the bottom line is that Sunday, every male got their own cookie in a like a hipster, brown paper bag with a stamp on it and a sticker. That looked
and a bit of Justin DNA
and some hair from my arms potentially. Let's be honest. But they got the cookie. All the cookies were eaten. They loved the cookies. Hooray, hooray! And then I went home and fell asleep. And then the kids said, "Hey, Dad, could we actually, give you your mug?" That
your father's. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Those days I was working at a church that was 30 minutes down the road. Plus, I had to be there at 6:30 in the morning. So
wow.
Doing Father's Day.
So were you a little bit like Hamish Blake when he does that baking cake for his kids? I don't know if you've ever watched his Insta page, Hamish and Andy, Hamish Blake.
Yeah, because again, once it's one of those things, and we've talked about this, once I'm going to do something, it's going to get done.
Yeah.
And there are many, many things that I shouldn't have done, that the humans weren't expecting me to do, that I should have learned. Didn't need to be done, but yada yada yada. Them's the breaks. And anyway, like I say, everybody got their cookie that day, and that's why it's memorable. Of course, the other thing that I should have said is, all those mornings that the children bought me the mug and the special thing and the things. That's the one that comes to mind.
That's a great story.
I'm going to have to take a time out now because I'm stressed by the memory.
You look like you did a little nap just after telling the story.
Cheers, brother. Cheers.
Oh man, I love it. Mate, well,
memorable.
Look, I think mine memorable was the year that I felt like I got a really good haul of gifts. Now I'm terrible to buy for. I'm one of those guys that when someone says, "What do you want for your birthday?" I'm like, "Don't worry, I don't need anything."
Yeah. Is
Whereas
that true
secretly,
or is that a lie?
Oh, it is true, but secretly you love it if you do get something that's really nice. But I'm equally not disappointed if I don't. But this one year, like one of the kids won the raffle at school, so I got like these power tools.
Nice.
And then
that's great.
Yeah, and they didn't tell me, so and Shannon at the time made sure she didn't, let on, like get the kids to let on. So, I came down for sort of, Father's Day, sit down and open up these it was a cordless drill, and a power saw. Like it was decent sort of tools. I'm like,
yeah.
What is this? And then on top of that, they'd bought me some really cool stuff as well, staying in the power tool kind of department. So I felt like this, and this was maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Wow.
And every year, I must admit, secretly on Father's Day, I do hope that maybe they've won the raffle again and I'm going to get some more power tools.
So it's really not drill. It's really not, It's not realistic.
No, it's not. And it's also like your story. It should be the one where I opened up and got the personalized cup. And
Yeah.
man, I'm looking forward to hearing from Phil.
Yeah.
Great guy. You know, I've known Phil for a lot of years in the music scene. And just a really terrific bloke, you know, really genuine, lovely, caring soul.
And a drummer.
And a dad.
So drummer dads, this is for you and for all non-drummer dads at all. But let's be honest, every dad knows how to tap the steering wheel in time to free falling as you cruise down the highway. Happy Father's Day to everyone. Heathy baby, love you. Let's go to Phil.
Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. This is one of my father figures. No. Uncle Phil, maybe how much older than me are you? Should we just start there?
Well, I'm 54.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah.
20 years older?
No. Unfortunately
10
not.
10 years older.
6 years older?
6 years older.
Pastor, chaplain, musician, audio engineer, social welfare, passionate guy. Have I got all the words so far?
Well, yeah. I guess it starts with husband.
Oh, good. Come
Husband,
on.
father.
Nailed it.
Then I do my stuff.
That's how you know Phil's a
do.
more evolved being than I, because he knew that the answer at the start was husband. Well done.
Yeah, and it's because it's about identity, right? And that's it's probably because I've made some bad mistakes in my identity over the years that I've had to realign and reorganise, and that's why I can talk about that specifically.
So for you then, I've known you for 20-something years, and I've seen a few phases, but only from a distance. And so, by the way, happy Father's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Happy Father's Day.
You too.
Thank you.
And all the dads out there.
So let's start there.
Yep.
You've been a dad for how long?
25 years.
And how many people have you made?
Three beautiful girls. 25. There'll be 25, 23 and 21 this year.
And Tam, tell us about Tam.
Yep, married to Tam for 30 years this year.
Wow.
She's a great girl. Brought me to church 31 years ago, you know, and that changed my life. So,
because church was a massive pivot point for you, wasn't it? Coming into a space with other people of sort of like-minded, but had a faith to add to it.
Well, yeah, I grew up in a church that was kind of very religious and not, and was very sort of stagnant. It wasn't. It was just going through the Sunday motions, not really talking about actually having a personal relationship with God and being able to pray to Him and ask Him to do things and seeing Him work. And once I heard that, and once I started reading the Bible and seeing all the amazing things that Jesus could do, I was like, wow, why didn't somebody tell me this before?
Okay.
And that really opened my eyes and changed my life.
So you weren't foreign to faith, you weren't foreign to Christian circles.
Yeah.
But the concept was just presented to you in
I didn't have my own faith.
Wow. Okay.
I guess I knew God was there, distant, but I didn't really talk to Him or interact with Him or ask Him for anything. So, yeah.
So this is, and again, about finding the right girl. Talk about finding the right girl. So
She found me, mate.
Yeah, and she asked you confidently, come to my church kind of thing?
Yeah. I was playing in a band in a pub in the city here in Melbourne, and she was like, why don't you come to our church sometime and check it out? And, you know, I guess I felt comfortable going to a church because I'd grown up in a church.
Yeah.
But, it was when some guys really started saying to me, have you actually read the Bible? That I was like, oh, no.
Okay.
So that really changed my life.
Because you're a naturally curious person. You're a kind of, you need to know kind of guy, right?
Yeah, I love learning.
Yeah.
I think through school and high school, I really enjoyed trying to better myself and love that my teachers were really proactive in kind of leading us to discover great things. And it was sort of like, I don't know, I've felt like I wanted to learn and grow in all sorts of ways. So why not?
Pretty cool. So you're now in a space where, and I got to know you through sort of the Christian music scene. You were the drummer in the Paul Coleman Trio, and I found, I obviously loved watching and listening to the music and all the stuff, seeing you guys live. But I remember very early on, you were one of those guys that, and when I say father figure, I think that's something that you just carry. I felt you're a guy that people feel very comfortable around. I certainly did. Felt very comfortable to share my story. You're a pretty open kind of cat. Where does that come from?
Well, I'm more of an introvert than the rest of the guys in the group, the Paul Coleman trio. So they were the guys that kicked the doors down in a good way to get us where we needed to go. But I was always sort of the guy who wanted to share my love for God and my love for people through music, but I was always sort of taking the back seat. So, but I love people, and I love making friends, and I love getting, I guess in sort of some ways fighting against the introverted person I am by getting out there and meeting people. And I think the longer I've gone on, the more I realise everyone's got a great story. Everyone's got something really interesting about their life that has shaped who they are. And I want to know. I love listening to other people share,
Right.
So, yeah. So that makes, I feel like I can make friends easy with that
So you got
framework.
I reckon you'd be good at the open-ended question. When it comes to your parenting did you know how to be the tough guy and the growly and the short and...
Yeah.
Because I get the feeling you talk it out with the girls.
Well, so you look back at my dad, and I think about the models that I had growing up, and it was much more stern, stoic kind of parenting style.
Yeah.
My dad was actually has always been pretty sort of cold in some ways.
Yeah.
And I longed for that warmth, and I think in some ways you do the opposite of what your parents did.
Sure.
So, but yeah. So if anything, I've found it challenging to be stern, really, really hard line with my kids, but rather trying to be gentle in showing them discipline and to help them grow. And I think I was thinking about this earlier, how people that are really hardline or force their children to do stuff usually end up repelling them from the thing that they wanted them to be.
Yeah,
right?
the irony, right?
You know what I mean? So if you're forced to do music lessons, you'll end up giving away music. If you're forced to be a sporting person, you'll probably throw it in. If you're forced into faith, I think a lot of people reject it. Whereas, so I've never tried to force the kids to do anything. Having said that, there's definitely boundaries, and that's the beauty of a husband and wife team.
Yeah,
is that Tam, my wife, has been so good at setting boundaries with the girls. We would, particularly devices. That's the big thing now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's how early did they start? I remember our kids. None of us had mobile phones as our generation growing up, but our kids were old enough, just become, when iPads were required in school, high school.
Yeah.
My eldest was going into high school. So we didn't have to fight that in the primary school age years, which most parents are dealing with now. So luckily we didn't have to fight that until our kids got to high school age. But then it was very much like, when are we switching off said device? And where's the boundary of, it's bedtime.
Yeah.
It's time to do this. It's time to do that. So Tam was really good, my wife, really good at putting in good boundaries. And of course, when one person does it, if the other backs them up with the same rules, then it works.
So, and again, teamwork. I see you as that assistant coach, I reckon. Because
it's a good way to put it. My wife's the coach. I'm the assistant coach.
But I've seen that, I guess, in the way you work within the musical environments, the way you work in the pastoral environments. You love coming in and backing up someone but you buy in. What is it that allows you to buy in? What are you looking for in the person that as far as the trust?
Love playing second fiddle. Yeah, because I'm not a strong alpha male kind of leader. So you got it. Well, if you're not good at being an alpha male leader, then you better be good at backing the lead person up. And I guess that goes right back to playing music. Growing up as a young person, if you're not an amazing lead guitarist or singer, well, then you better be a good drummer.
If you're
going to get work,
you want to do some
right?
stuff. Yeah.
So that's the way I've always looked at it, I guess. And I guess I've applied that to relationships, to the work I do, to marriage, raising kids. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. And again, there's lots we could delve into there. But I think the gentle, and I always call drummers are naturally control freaks. I don't know if you know this or not, but they kind of are. Because they can make the band start and stop, and they can move the lead singer on from talking too much. There's a whole lot of stuff, right? So there is a leadership there. And so it's always interesting, the picture.
Passive-aggressive leadership. Sure. And the guy hiding up the back.
Yeah, I know. So, but I guess what I'm saying is the org chart, because you said alpha, right? So it gives that sense of that's the person. And I do buy into that in the sense of there's always somebody in the room that's running the room.
Yeah.
Whatever room you go into, you can sniff it out and you know who's in charge.
Absolutely.
So at your house, it's your wife. And
yeah, and that might sound like she's wearing the pants.
No. I'm saying that's her talent. That's her gift.
Like she's strong-willed and got clear direction in her mind, but also lets me make the final decisions.
That's nice.
Which is, pretty amazing. And not all marriages work that way. They're probably the opposite.
Yeah.
Where the husband's making most of the calls, the wife submits to that and
any imbalance in relationship is the same picture. This person dominates that person. And so the thing you're always trying to look for in family in general is that balanced approach. I know sometimes when the kids have sort of said, they've expressed to me that they're either scared or scared of me or scared of what I might do, and as in they get in trouble from me. And so over the years I've said to Jase, why do I always have to I don't want to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
But it's just a role that we naturally fall into. She's a naturally caring, talk it over kind of person. I'll talk it over, but I'll tell you what I'm talking about. Whereas, I've gotten better at listening over the years. But so for you, that role, you've taken that into your pastoral work. And I actually rang you the other day and said, look, man, I'm looking for some people to chat to on father figures that maybe are involved in sport. And a siren rang in the background. I went, where are you? And you said,
I'm at the local footy game.
I'm at the footy.
Yeah.
And suddenly the fog lifted from my eyes. And I went, that's right. You're a footy person.
I'm wearing my Croydon Blues, which is local footy team jumper. So
how long have you been chaplaining for Croydon Blues?
So this is the 11th season.
Yeah.
It started in 2014.
Did you play for Croydon Blues? What's the connection?
No. So our church, New Hope Baptist here, was starting a mini church, if you like, out in that area.
Yeah.
And so some other pastors heard that we were doing that and heard about this opportunity in sports chaplaincy and thought that'd be a great connection.
Yeah.
A guy like myself starting a small church in the area, getting involved in the local footy club as a way of connection and support for them and for us to hopefully introduce some people to faith. So that was a very natural beginning, and sports chaplaincy had a real focus at the time because there was a lot of people struggling with serious mental health issues
within that particular club,
within footy in general, in the Eastern Footy League, and so the Footy League were reaching out actively to Sports Chaplaincy Australia, saying we want to put chaplains in footy clubs for the mental health of the players, and so and Sports Chaplaincy were allowed to actively recruit guys like myself. And reach out to footy clubs and match them with footy clubs. And so that's how I began my relationship with Croydon.
And that's been 11. So did you grow up playing sport? Are you a sporty person?
Yeah, I love footy, and played footy at high school. Yeah. But then my music teacher said, well, you can't play drums with broken arms, broken hands, fingers and feet and stuff. So you better choose which ones are going to be drums or footy. So I gave up the footy and just stuck with music because that's what I really, really wanted to do was play music.
So you end up in a position where you've got some sporting background, but again, the culture is like you're in Australia. This is the other religion we have is sport. How do you go about starting that role? Because I can imagine you would have been pretty nervous going, I'm the pastor, walking in as a chaplain, and these boys. You make all sorts of assumptions about how they're measuring you, or did it just work the same way? Phil walks in, asks an open-ended question, and they start.
Yeah, it was interesting. Look, because the president of the footy club was open, that made it accessible for all the players. Even they were like, well, why do we need a chaplain at the footy club? And look, most people some of the players come up to me on the first night and said, "I'm so glad you're here."
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, wasn't expecting that.
No.
I had some older guys. One guy was up in my grill.
Yeah.
He'd obviously been drinking heavily, and he said, "What is it with you chaplains, and your confidentiality stuff?" And he had a bad experience with a chaplain dealing with his kids at a school, but that's another story. Point being that some people were actively excited about it and some were a little resistant. But point being, because the president of the club had said this is something we should do, because he didn't want to see any of his players struggle in life or even worse. So it was great that I was ushered into that space. And I felt like by that point in my life, having travelled the world playing music and been involved in a church, that I had a certain level of skill relationally to connect with people and begin conversations.
You've never struck me as a nervous person. You feel you're a fairly settled dude. I
kind of had the fear beat out of me. I was a nervous
That was what I was going to ask. Yeah.
And so doing the band, traveling a lot, playing in front of a lot of large audiences and meeting thousands and thousands of people actually kind of beat the fear out of me. So now I can walk up to anyone now and say, "Hey, my name's Phil." And that is an incredible icebreaker. When you put your name out there to someone, they usually quickly return with, my name's such and such. You know, and so I felt like I carried those skills are transferable from what I'd done before in life into the footy club as a chaplain.
So you bring all of that to your 50s now, and you've got the three. Oh, by the way, where are we up to with the three girls' journeys?
So the oldest two are now married.
Yep.
At 25 and 22.
Wow.
Married. The second one married very recently, only a couple of weeks ago, in July 2025.
Wow.
And our youngest is still studying at uni. But so it's almost getting close to empty nesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can feel that season. You can literally see the season changing in front of your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. And our middle one wrote us an amazing letter on her wedding recently to tell us how much she'd appreciated the different seasons and what we brought to her as a parent, which is lovely to hear back. But again, it's that combination of my wife's strong, tough love and my gentle kind of backup to that.
I just came here today for a hug. That's all I can.
Sure. You can have another one later.
Yeah, good. So what does the perfect Father's Day look like for you?
Perfect Father's
Well, actually,
Day?
in this season, I guess, but you might have seasons where you remember the little girls and the things.
Well, I think the goal as parents is to provide the boundaries that we all want to. Boundaries exist because we can't have a footy field with no rules. Otherwise, it'd just be mayhem, right?
Yeah.
So that's why life has boundaries, and God gave us the Bible, gave us boundaries because He loves us, not because He wanted us to be stopped from having fun and having a good time. Yeah. And so that's what I want for my kids. I want them to have a good time. I want them to enjoy life, but there is boundaries. And so a good Father's Day is my kids realising that, hey, you set some good, tough boundaries for us, but now we appreciate it. Yeah. Discipline's not great at the time, is it, when it has to happen? But But if the kids can recognise it and appreciate it for what it was and what it is, and yet you still feel like you're in a loving relationship and they're grateful and we're grateful towards each other, and that's a win.
And again, we're talking to all sorts of parents who their relationship with their kids hasn't been as successful as the one you're describing, guys who are single parenting, co-parenting. There's all sorts of models out there. But I think, I guess maybe the question is, because you work with a lot of crew, what's the sort of the simple advice you give, especially a guy who's going, I just want to be a better dad?
I would say, somebody said to me once, discipline, which really means love, tough love, begins at the dinner table. Yeah. And I was like, wow.
We don't get to the dinner table that often.
Right. Okay.
We try.
Well, because
but I get the picture.
Sitting down and having a meal together is a chance to chat, debrief. There's a great model called highs and lows, which is tell us the great thing that happened, tell us about the tough thing that happened today, and whatever way you phrase that, but the model of sitting down over a meal, spending time with each other, even if it's at least hopefully 10 minutes, is enough to at least get an update on where everyone's at and a chance for it doesn't have to be the parents offering the advice, it could be the other kids chiming in, or that whoever's there for dinner, grandparents or friends or whatever. But it's a chance to table what's going on so that people feel heard.
Some dads would be travelling for work. You did that for a while. Was that a really different approach?
So tough.
You're travelling for work. You're away touring.
I pulled the pin on the touring because I just realised I was not going to know or have influence in my kid's life if I was going to be on the road away 5 to 6 days a week. Like they just weren't going to know who their dad was. So
just do an ego check for a second. So I meant that in a gentle way. You've essentially sacrificed touring the world, playing rock and roll, to parent.
Yeah.
Do you ever go, and I know the right answer is no, but do you ever go, I wish I hadn't? I wish I still had that part of me? Or
no.
Because the sacrifice is good because you've had a clear view of what you wanted to sacrifice for. I'm not going to invest in that. I'm going to invest in this.
Well, take out my opinion. Yeah. And if you ask others, everyone else that I talk to says you made the right decision. Even my ex-bandmates.
Yeah, right.
Say,
okay.
You made a great decision to spend time with to put your family first. And I think that's one of the toughest things.
That's amazingly affirming. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so hard to make those tough calls. And we're in a foreign country. After 2 years of living in America, my wife had finally said, I'm starting to feel like I'm settled here. And we go and pull the pin. I go and pull the pin, but I could just see that the next 10 years of my life were going to be away from my kids. And I just didn't want it to be that way. So, and I have to tell myself I've made the right decision. I mean, as a muso, you love performing. You love being in front of people. You love doing what you're meant to do. But there's 22 hours of travel, sitting around, waiting around to play, and then 2 hours of playing, and then,
Because I think that every dad, and again we're talking sort of what would you celebrate on Father's Day, and for a lot of blokes, there's not a lot to celebrate because it hasn't gone well for them, And sometimes it is because they've sacrificed for work. They've sacrificed the other way around.
Well, that's an interesting point. Like, I actually think there's always hope. There's always hope to turn something around. If it hasn't gone well thus far, then there's measures you can take to change the trajectory. It's not I'm stuck in this for the rest of my kids' lives. Like, there's always stuff we can do to shift the, and it could be as simple as, adding a meal time or a movie night or a catch up once a week or whatever it is. There's always new things that we can add to the repertoire of parenting.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk about the walk and talk all the time. So we've got a dog, let's go for a walk. Right. Everyone's coming. We don't want to go. I don't care. We're walking. Yeah. Because if we can start walking, the rest...
they'll enjoy it once they're there.
Once they're there.
Yeah.
The drive chat. One of my fondest memories with my dad, a lot of my fond memories are actually around the long drives in the middle of the night between the churches or whatever we were doing at the time. It's that sort of stuff. So as much as those things, a child is always going to say that's boring.
Yes.
Because it's not the dopamine hit of the thing they wanted to do.
Yep.
But moving into that third space, so the dinner table certainly represents that. At least there's food there. They have to come. At some point they have to come to the dinner table. But I find that the dinner table, we had a large family, so it can be quite a chaotic moment. Yep. So we don't overly romanticize the dinner table, but we do love it when it works.
Fantastic. and the same thing, like forcing kids to get out the door to go for a walk. And yet, so they go kicking and screaming. But by the end of the walk, they're smiling and laughing and have had a good time doing it. Or, I don't think anyone regrets.
No. And I go back to the picture of the footy, because if you're not playing the football, so the player goes there to play. The coach goes there to coach and he's engaged. The chaplain goes there to just be a non-anxious presence. So you are essentially being asked to spend X hours of your day, probably 6 to 8 hours, because, you got to do the pre and the post and the barbecue and the things. So it's actually a lot of time commitment and it's not structured. It just exists. You just exist in that space. I think it's a beautiful picture of the kind of fathering we're talking about, where you're just there.
Yeah, the sports chaplaincy call it a ministry of presence.
Yeah.
In other words, you're there, you're present. If you're always at work, if you're always touring with your band, if you're always doing it, down at the pub, you're not present with the people that you say that you love. I had a counsellor look me in the eye and say, mate, you talk about your music as if it's your first love, not your family. And I was like, dang it, if that's true, if that's actually real, then I've got to have a good long hard look at myself, and this is when my kids were starting to, they were a few years old. So I had to really take a long, hard look in the mirror and go, wow, do I actually put my music above my family? Is that because this is what that guy is reflecting back to me. So, yeah, hard words to swallow, but mate, we all need someone in our life sometimes if we're that driven. Because I was very driven.
Yeah, you're driven.
I wanted to be successful, and I did love music, but I think I probably had put it on a higher pedestal than other things, and it takes some unwinding. But the good thing is that if we can spiral downwards, then we can spiral. We must be able to spiral upwards in terms of organising our priorities and realigning our thinking. And so that's why as soon as we sit down, I want to talk about our identity, because if our identity's in the thing that we do, our work, if that's our highest priority, that's when I think that's when we run into trouble.
Well, I always ask the question, how many hours does it take to have a moment?
That's good.
Because, and you described it, music, travel, waiting. I say to people in the arts, the kids always want it to, I show them music or theatre or whatever. And it's a shock to people how long you have to do nothing for.
Oh, yeah.
to do the thing that you're about to do.
So when you finally get there, it's so embedded in who, it becomes almost embedded in who you are. It's almost hard to prise the two apart.
And then if it doesn't live up to expectations, you're kind of doomed.
Right. Yes.
I did all of this.
That's right.
And it didn't feel like I thought it was going to feel. Whereas family and fathering and even just mentoring and the non-anxious presence you are as a chaplain is, I'm still here. If you need a moment, I'll be here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's, people are such a much more wonderful pursuit than tasks or activities,
People are a much more important pursuit than tasks. Phil Gaudion, everyone. Yeah, just that's the tweet. Do we still tweet? I don't know. That's the
hashtag,
hook.
Whatever you want to do.
That's the hashtag.
No, it's just, So way better to invest in people.
So what's your favourite version of Phil so far?
Oh, I think it's one where my kids are excited to spend time with us, and even though now two of them have left home, and the third's living out of home while she studies in another city. So when they're excited to connect with you, like my youngest wants to take us to a footy game to watch, just to hang out.
Yeah,
she's coming from where she lives. We're meeting in the city, and so that's going to be great.
Yeah.
And if your kids desire that as they get older, that's worth everything.
There's the guys that use sport to escape, to get out of the house, to escape the thing that they're supposed to be responsible for. And then there are guys that say, let's all go together. And you're kind of the person that tries to bridge that gap for a lot of folks. What's the first thing you do if you're talking with a guy, especially around that mental health space,
right,
and they've obviously fallen down? They're still functioning, but they've fallen down.
Yeah.
Where do you start?
Well, I'd say what's the most important thing to you? So in other words, go after where their identity is. If they've made sport their most important thing and they're struggling at it, then that's why they're depressed, anxious, upset. So there's got to be something more important. It's like identifying in people's lives what is most important to you and why. And I think that, being able to just talk that out helps people reflect on, maybe I've got the priorities wrong. Maybe I have put what I'm doing above the people I say are the most important in my life. And so it's good to just help people try and see that for what it is and reorient if they have to.
And you've been doing it for 11 years, so you must be pretty good at it.
No, I don't think I am.
I
think it's that somebody's shown me this in my life, and therefore it's been a gift to me and I get to pass it on.
Well, who showed it to you?
Oh, it's a counsellor.
A
guy that I spent probably at least 2 months with once a week, just helping me unpick some of my thinking and listening to what I was saying and going, this is what's just come out of your mouth. Do you really think that?
So you've come out of a season where you felt you needed some therapy, and you stepped into that space. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then from there,
I think I got to a point where I realised I was being a little bit aggressive and angry, and I couldn't work out why. There was an undercurrent going underneath what was happening on top.
Yeah.
So some people call it background noise that was informing my actions.
Yeah.
And it was almost, and some people say, you sometimes hear people say they didn't think they would ever do X, Y, and Z, but something within them was, informing that. So I needed to go back and listen to the background noise and work out why am I telling myself that I'm angry or upset or feeling entitled or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And listen to that and try and unwind that stuff before I moved on to, okay, now my behaviour can change.
Good man. And so that was 10 or 11 years ago.
Yeah,
and that sort of opened this door for stepping into the chaplaincy, which was also a request. So
yeah, it was probably more like 15 years ago that season of my life happened, and but that's great because it really helped me get away from being so self-absorbed. I think which I think,
it's good, man.
It's tough. It's tough to go through, but it's great to do it.
Yeah. You can get back up again, is the point.
Oh, absolutely. I'd say that's I think that's why I love the opportunity in chaplaincy, because it's like if anyone's spiraled down, I can get alongside them and say, look, this can get better.
Yeah.
We can unwind this.
Yeah. So good. Thanks for hanging out with us on Father Figures, man.
Pleasure.
We could keep chatting for many, many hours. But happy Father's Day. I did say that already. What would you like? So the girls are out of the house now. What do they do? You just got to have a Zoom call? What happens?
No. Family meals. Family.
Okay, so they're coming together.
Yeah, we try and do that once every week or once every couple
so
of
everyone's
weeks.
Still pretty close geographically. Okay, they're not that far scattered, right?
Oh yeah, my youngest is 2 hours away, but if the others live close by, we'll always try and do a family meal.
Yeah, and do you shout? Is it still your shout?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
I mean, there's no expense spared on that because of the value of what it brings to us as a family. So it's whatever. Let's put on the best roast dinner we can do.
Yeah.
Whatever, because it shows that we value this as a family, and it's fun.
So I think I'm just going to invite myself to your house for dinner.
Sure.
And I'll bring my tribe. They eat a lot. We have 4 boys. So
no worries. Great.
Doomed.
Let's do it.
With the sausages at the footy instead. Pastor Phil Gaudion.
Yep.
It's been lovely, man.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks for hanging out. Every now and again, I get together with my old man and we try and recreate a childhood memory. Let's be honest, we've never actually done that before, but we did it for this episode of Father Figures. I said, we met in a playground and I said, let's try and sit on one of those giant sort of netted swings like we used to. We had a great chat about parenting, identity, and figuring out fatherhood together. This is my old man, Donald Alexander Gall. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, watch your knee.
Here we go.
Watch your knee. Okay,
Watch your knee.
man grunt.
Whoa! Where are we going?
I don't know. It's always a question of, where are we going?
Where are we going?
Where are we going? Welcome to Father Figures. This is my old man, Don.
Hi.
Donald Alexander Gall, as your mother christened you.
Yeah.
Okay, dumbest thing I ever did as a kid.
Where do you want me to start?
Well, I mean, you've got many to choose from.
Quite a few. Well, there was the day that you were right into BMX and so forth. You didn't have a proper BMX.
No, but I just watched BMX Bandits, so
watched
I
BMX
had a reference
Bandits, and
point.
so we lived in a house at the time where the driveway went down into the yard, and you would come flying down up the side of the house, skid your bike, and and you'd be right. But this one day, because we're on 5 acres at the time, we had our own home there. You went down the side of the house, skidded your bike, mistimed it, and went straight through the barbed wire fence, which meant quite a few scars on your legs. Yeah. I believe you've still got a couple that show up. So, that was pretty dumb. Hurtful, but pretty dumb.
Yeah. And I'm sure you were very kind to me, not angry at all at the dumb. Were you even home at the time? I don't remember.
No, I don't think so.
It was probably just after school and I was
you were doing
around.
your BMX Bandit thing.
I think I was up to about a 4 brick height on the jump with the plank of wood.
Probably.
About a 4 brick height. So you come down the driveway, over the 4 brick, and the 4 brick jump, and then
straight into the barbed wire.
And of course, back in those days, kiddos, there wasn't the emergency department just around the corner.
No.
You just wrapped yourself up with a brown paper bag and some vinegar, right?
Something like that. We were about 15 k's out of town.
Yeah.
So I don't
don't think you had to have any stitches, but a couple of the cuts were pretty deep, but scratches all over.
I'm sure the incident report was filled out and you
absolutely
sent it in triplicate to all the people that matter.
Well, these days you'd have the DHS on you, I suppose, but there we go.
But so, no, I'm still here, and I think the thing that I'm proudest of is you and I are still good mates.
We are,
and we've worked hard at that over the years.
We have worked hard.
You've been wrong a lot.
As parents often are, yes.
Well, I'm here to help, that's all.
Well, thank you very much.
So if you need any answers.
Who needs a therapist when you've got a son?
Absolutely. But so much of parenting is about the holding on and the letting go.
Yep.
So our kids are now your grandchildren.
Yes.
For Jodie and I are 19, 16, 13 and 9.
Yes.
And we've sort of got this weird thing going on where our eldest is very much, a young adult, and he's kind of taken on life, and that's brilliant. But then we've got these little kids in our house too. So I'm really in this weird stretchy mode of I've got to hold on sort of a bit tight to these ones and protect. And with my eldest, I've got to let go and let it. Do you remember, especially for me, do you remember what it felt like to let me out into the world and trust that I'd be okay?
Yes, I think it was that balance that both Mum and I had, was how, and mothers are always more protective, but I think...
Well, I did notice your neglect. I did, yeah.
but as a dad...
I've seen a therapist.
As a dad, you've got to realise that, I'd sit with you and have conversations, but you've got to try and figure out where that point is where you stop giving all the directions and then start letting the rope out a bit, because you don't want your kids, be it your sons or your daughters, you don't want your kids to make the same mistakes that you did. But as a dad to a son, you think about the mistakes you've made, and you don't want your son to make the same mistakes. But you also have to understand that you've got to make your mistakes in order for you as an individual to be able to learn and to grow from those mistakes, to be there for your son when he's made the mistakes as well, and talk him through it.
Well, the learning happens in the valleys. The learning happens in, it's the old, I learned more from losses than I did from wins kind of scenario. And I think it's the other thing that strikes me for all parents really is I'm finding the parenting journey is I'm trying to give my kids their turn.
Yes.
Whilst dealing with some of my own insecurities of feeling like I missed out on my turn.
Yeah, look, that's true. I think too, as a parent, you look at your kids and you look at what they're doing, and you generally, you're proud and you're pleased with what they're the sort of people they're developing into. But you kind of think, well, when there's a mistake made, you look and you think, well, where did I go wrong as a parent? That's a question you ask yourself sometimes. And the reality is that yes, we do make mistakes as parents, but the fact of the matter is that I think we've got to be careful as parents we don't beat ourselves up over that, because we are all human beings. But for me,
I had my doubts about you.
But I think for me, being a dad, the important thing for me was to look at it and say, okay, look, I made my mistakes. My son's making mistakes, but am I prepared to be there for him if he wants to come and talk to me and talk through whatever needs to be talked through? And I think sometimes kids find that hard. They don't want to talk to their parents. They talk to somebody else, and that's another thing. As a parent, you've got to realise, look, I'm not failing as a parent because my child wants to go and talk to somebody else, because sometimes
that's a big one, isn't it?
They have they have to talk to somebody else outside of that in order to get a more objective view of what they're happening, because we as parents tend to lean more to the subjective because they're our flesh and blood. So we have to try and guard against that, but it's very, very hard.
So I think for me, look, I remember key guys in my life from sort of the 13, 14, 15 years of age. Yeah. Was that hard for you to see me going to those guys for advice or?
Oh yes, it was
creative choice, whatever it was.
Yeah, because as a dad, you
want to be the answer, right?
You want to be the font of all wisdom. But the fact of the matter is, you're not.
Yeah.
And you do need to allow your kids as they grow. As I said, you've got to give that bit of rope, and they become, from that point where you're giving all the direction to that transitional period where there's that direction, but there's also the child champing at the bit to become an adult, if you like.
Yeah.
And it is hard to allow them to go and talk to other people and not think that somehow you've failed your children, because you really haven't. In fact, I think if you allow that to happen, you are in fact being more mature and a better parent.
Well, like I say, I think the interesting thing for me is that I know that as my children go and talk to other people, there's a chance that they're going to tell stories about me and what I didn't do. You know, and I think that's an insecurity for a lot of blokes. Well, if they go and talk to other people, they're gonna rag on me. They're gonna say that day that I wrestled them too hard or shouted at them or withheld the toy from them, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of insecurity letting go, because so much of parenting is you start by holding this precious baby if you let go of it, the baby suffers. To this journey of, if you don't let go, the child will suffer.
Yeah.
So you've been a pastor since 88. 1988?
Yes,
87,
88 we started,
and you've been a public school teacher since the age of 22, 23?
A bit younger, 21, something like that.
Something like that, when they used to let you out and you went to Buchan and changed the world. But
started in Melbourne, started in the western suburbs, actually.
Oh, there you go. Well, I knew you had a bit of Westie about you. But the role you play as a teacher, so many parents are worried about what the teacher is going to tell their child. So many parents are worried about, if I take them to this school or that school, they'll get influenced by this and that. And I think it's interesting. You've actually been on both sides of those roles. Do you feel that pressure as a teacher as well?
Personally, no, I don't, because I am who I am, but I think too that with parents have to understand that even though their kids are at school for X number of hours a day, the parents are still the greatest influence in a child's life.
Absolutely, yeah.
They are still, and this is the thing. And today it's been interesting coming back into teaching over the last several years to see the way that parents are today, and it's, from a teacher's perspective, in some regards, it's getting worse in the sense that parents are so protective of their children. Not all, but many parents are so protective of their children. We call them helicopter parents and all these sorts of phraseologies that we have.
Tiger?
I don't know.
And I don't know. I forgot to read the books about parenting.
And lawnmower parents who do all the jobs for them. And all these sort of things. But again, I know it's a long time ago, but when I was in school, if I went home and said to my dad I'd got into trouble at school, I'd get into trouble from my dad.
Yes.
And he'd say, well, you do what the teacher says and that's all there is about it.
Yeah.
But today, unfortunately, in a lot of senses, it's changed. And now we have to have these meetings with parents and explain everything and what have you. So it is very difficult for teachers.
So you've got, often in that role, you've got parents second-guessing themselves.
Yes.
Have I done the right thing? You've got teachers second-guessing themselves.
Yes.
You've got a community that's going, I just want to make sure this child grows up sort of as trauma-free as possible, is kind of the approach.
Yeah.
So I come back to, how do you go about being the safe person? We're having this conversation on Father's Day, by the way, for all those listening, whatever day it is for you, we're having this conversation on Father's Day. So, I think the goal for you and Mum was, faith was always the anchor.
Yes.
You've both been pastors and you teach scripture from a pulpit and all that sort of stuff. And, the way I view it is, you were always at least attempting to teach yourself as you went along. Because I always say to people, when I preach to myself, and if you get something out of it, that's
absolutely.
great. I can only preach out of what's,
out of experience. And that's the thing. You balance what's in the scripture with your own life experiences. That's how it. That's really how it works. It speaks to yourself, and that's why, like people say, how many times have you preached that sermon? And I can count on basically one hand the number of times that I've preached the same sermon twice.
The same sort of scripture content.
Yeah.
Well, it's a never-ending. Well, that is the font of wisdom we talk about.
Yeah.
But I look at Isaiah 41, 2 Timothy, where it talks about God didn't give you a spirit of fear.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's, when it comes to kind of the identity of the parent and trying to help the identity of the child.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, and again, you might not come from others listening may not come from a faith background, certainly maybe not a Christian faith background, but essentially I'm trying as best I can to not develop a fear in the child,
Yeah.
a fear of the world, a fear of
Yeah.
the community, a fear of
Yeah.
failure even.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give them faith. And I think the letting go part has always for me been about, I'm not going to be able to be I'm not the rocket launcher for this child. And I'm going to have to let them go.
Yeah.
And for me, you guys gave me the skills and the gifts and the things, the DNA, and shared,
Yeah.
the home environment was full of music and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can see that in my world. But the people that gave me the rocket launch moments were, that uni lecturer or that high school,
Yeah.
the teacher that said, "Hey, Juz, have you tried this instrument
Yeah.
or tried this thing?" So, that trust factor is big, isn't it?
Oh, look, it absolutely is. Because as a parent, you look and say, okay, you try to the best of your ability to figure out what the gifts and abilities of your child are, and then help them into that. But obviously, you've got to have other people who see something else in your child that you are blinded to because they're your child.
Yeah.
And we've had over the years, very fortunately, we've had some amazing people who have come to us, teachers. We think of Sally, who said, Justin would be good going from the cornet onto the French horn, and you went from there, and we got your lessons on that, et cetera, et cetera. But it was other people who spotted those things, but then it was up to us as the parents to support
to champion it,
and to champion it. Yeah.
And again, and it's probably we can finish on this, but one of my favourite memories in Year 11 and Year 12 was driving from Carramburra in Gippsland up to Glen Iris.
Glen Iris it was, yes.
And you took me to get lessons from a guy who played in the MSO.
MSO, that's right.
And
second French horn.
Second French horn in the MSO, and we ended up actually buying the French horn I have today.
Yep.
We bought from him, and that was a French horn that was played in the MSO.
Yep.
Put on his back rack and taken. The bike rack, I should say.
Bike rack, yeah.
So I've recently had that repaired at Muso's Corner. Shout out to Carl at Muso's Corner, and I still play that today. But that changed the trajectory of my life.
Yes,
because you and I got that time in the car to chat.
Yep.
And so we'd have 3 to 4 hours of driving.
Yes, that's right.
And a 1 hour lesson.
Yep. And then back again.
So I think about the parenting commitment that took from you. Plus, it was real money for a real French. Like it wasn't, it was no slouch. It was teaching me. No. And that got me into the uni degree, which is where I met the guys that became my band, which, the church experience, all of that kind of stuff. And so I just think, well, I mean, I guess I'd give you a rating out of 10 of, well, you can have a 10 today.
It's Father's Day. It's Father's 10 today.
All right. And just to finish that thought, am I the best child you've got? Is that right?
You're the best son I've got, for sure. Go. Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt.
As always. Well, Donnie, thanks for having a swing with me.
That's great. We haven't had a swing for a long time.
We haven't had a swing for a long time, and I just encourage you to be careful when you get up.
Yes, I will.
Your knees don't work.
No, the left knee's a bit gone.
Happy Father's Day.
And thank you very much.
Mwah.
Happy Father's Day to you too.
Mwah. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there and all of those blokes who have just been a key part in helping a little person thrive. I just thank you for listening to Father Figures, for being a part of it, and stick around because the rest of the season is pretty good. We're going to manage some change, we're going to grow together, we're going to encourage each other, and we're going to figure out fatherhood. God bless. Have a great rest of the week.